to Season 5, Episode 7 of Vixen, a Black beauty and pop culture podcast. If you enjoy what you hear today, please leave a review anywhere you listen to podcasts. Today's episode is on stylist, image consultant, and publicist Sadia Morrison. Now, let's start the show. Hello, hey y'all, welcome back to a all new episode of Vixen. You guys have been asking for another crime crossover episode, and as I close this season out, I could not leave y'all hanging, so here we go. I'm not going to ramble too much in this intro because I do want to give as much time and attention to this episode as I possibly can, and I do think this episode will be a little on the longer side, so I will jump right in, but before I do, I just want to say this is a story that has fascinated me, puzzled me, and scared me all at the same time. I've been wanting to do this story for a while, but I was waiting for the right time because I just felt like, I wanted to make sure I give this story my all, and I felt like no better time than Black History Month. This is a woman that reminds me a lot of myself. She's definitely someone that I would have looked up to, reminds me a lot of my friends, and had like similar interests to me when she was in high school as I did when I was in high school. So I was really excited to do this story. Also, before we get started, I do want to issue a quick trigger warning for y'all. We are going to be talking about some instances of death that might make some people uncomfortable, but it will be like towards the end of the episode. But I just want to issue that warning just in case. And I'll also remember to put that trigger warning in my show notes. And from there, we're going to go ahead and get into the story. Sadia A. Morrison was born on February 27th, 1982 in New York City, joining her family as the middle child with an older sister, Ronier, and a younger brother, Paul. Sadia was raised in the Bronx River Projects by her sister and another family member. I'm not sure of their exact relation, but this family member happened to be Sadia's legal guardian. Her name was Cora Morrison. As a young girl, Sadia was very much a tomboy. She often hung out with boys at her school and in her neighborhood, but she was always a fashion girl, quickly gaining a rep as one of the most stylish girls in the school when she began high school at West Manhattan Outreach. So some of her favorite brands were Uggs, Gucci, Babe, La Perla, Betsey Johnson, and I had to add that, y'all. If you guys can't tell, this story is taking place like 2000, late 90s up until about 2008. And when she was well into her career, I was in high school at the time. I think I was actually approaching high school if I wasn't already in 9th grade. And Betsey Johnson, y'all, when I say I had all the Betsey Johnson bags, I had to mention that because I was like, yes, this is a girl after my own heart. And this is somebody who would have been like, a style icon to me with the streetwear and the Betsey Johnson and stuff. I just love it. But anyway, Sadia also loved writing her own music. She and one of her closest friends, Sade Clock, often wrote verses together and even found themselves on the street team for Jay-Z promoting his first album, Reasonable Doubt. The girls were only 14 years old at this time. After high school, Sadia enrolled at the Fashion Institute of Technology, better known as FIT, I went there too, to study fashion marketing and design and hit the ground running once she graduated. She started working as an editorial styling intern at Vibe in 2004, hired by John Moore, the former fashion director. In an interview with the Review Journal in 2008, John said, Morrison was known for her outgoing personality and for wearing bright colors like neon pinks, greens, and yellows. She always had the personality of a star. She always came off like she wanted to conquer the world. End quote. Actually, here I want to read another quote from John. This is a condensed quote from a comment he left on a blog post in 2008, just because I feel like it helps you guys get the picture of what Sadia was like and just more info about her career at Vibe. Sadia got her start through me hiring her at Vibe magazine. She was a force to be reckoned with. Her vitality and spirit was infectious around the office. She learned the ropes very quickly. Soon, she would be on most of the shoots. I still have call sheets with her name. My personal assistant at the time always looked out for her because I wanted her to thrive in fashion. I had hoped she would follow her career path. I am proud that she did. I've always admired her style and funky, wonderful mane of hair. It was always different colors. When it wasn't done, it was wrapped in a scarf. Her style, sneakers, trousers, denim jackets with grommettes, she had it going on. I wanted her to be involved at every step of the photo shoot process, end quote. While working at Vibe, Sadia continued to build her career on her own by getting into freelance styling, with jobs passed her way by John Moore and some that she got on her own. Sadia networked heavily, building relationships and gaining contacts at Bape, Gucci, and more. So for those of y'all who don't know how styling works, it's basically based all on connections, and those connections influence what you can pull for your clients. So that means who you know equates to what clothes you can use or borrow rather for your clients. So either you work under someone who has that network of desirable connections, or you build them on your own, which isn't easy. So this is actually really, really admirable, and it shows the kind of person that Sadia was. I always say you have to be a special kind of person to build networking into a business, and I really applaud people who are able to do that, because I know that I can't. I think I'm just too moody for stuff like that, but I'm always very inspired by people who are able to build networking and connections into viable businesses. It's really a big deal. Sadia left the Bronx for Harlem, starting her first business with her close friend, Ron Bell. This was called Project Barbie, an image consulting business where Sadia would style her clients, conduct personal shopping for them, take them to hot spots around town, and more. One of her first clients was rapper Blue Da Vinci, who was signed to BMF Entertainment at the time. Here's a quote from him in a Vibe magazine article about Sadia written in 2009. "She was styling me for like 2 years. That was my baby. She pulled all my clothes, was running me in clothing spots, running me everywhere. She was cool." After starting Project Barbie and building her own client base, Sadia continued to do freelance styling and work on photo shoots for magazines and online publications such as Juice, Complex, YRB, Teen Vogue, Mass Appeal, and more. She also started consulting work for brands like Lot 29 and South Pole. Y'all already know this is very mid-2000s. I love it. I love it. I love it. Although Sadia was quite successful, things did get hard at times. Her personal catchphrase was, "Where's my check?" because she was always making sure that she got paid for her work. For those of y'all that freelance out there, for creatives out there, y'all know it can be really hard to get paid in this industry. And you often have to chase people down for money that they owe you, which is insane. Like, you shouldn't have to beat down anybody's block for money that they owe you. In that Vibe article that I mentioned earlier, Sadia's friend Sade had this to say: "You'd never know she was suffering, but she'd come to me like, 'Man, I ain't get my check.' She will only tell her true friends that." End quote. Sadia did not let that discourage her, though. She kept going, kept hustling, and eventually she was styling the who's who of the industry. She was working with boxer Zab Judah. She worked with Pliers, Clinton Portis, Fantasia, Kanye, 50 Cent, Young Jeezy, NFL player Thomas Jones, and a young upcoming artist named Tiana Taylor. I am really excited to post some pictures of Sadia's style, because I feel like a lot of, you can see like that influence in Tiana Taylor, especially if you remember Tiana Taylor from this time, like how she dressed and how she looked. So I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, like when I look at Tiana's style. In that interview with the Review Journal in 2008, Sadia's brother, Paul Morrison, said, "She just got her chance and was starting to move out of the projects. The checks were starting to roll in. If Sadia's with you, she's with you. If something happens, she's with you. Sometimes it leads to her downfall, but that's the way it is." End quote. So this was definitely something that could have not worked in Sadia's favor, as it was alleged that Sadia had started to do a few things for her clients that were slightly dangerous, if you will. So I have to note, the only place that I saw this reported was in the Vibe article that I read. It appeared in the March 2009 issue of the magazine, and it was written by Linda Hobbs. I'm going to read a quote from that article. "Sadia was fiercely loyal and willing to do almost anything for her clients. Petty crimes ranged from boosting samples to charging bottles of Moet for a friend's birthday party, only to report her card stolen so the purchase could be taken off her bill. Sadia was starting to develop a bad girl rep among some fashionistas. Friends laughed at her audacity. It all seemed like fun and games. But after a 2007 trip to Las Vegas, everything turned serious." Okay, y'all, so let's talk about that trip to Las Vegas. There are about 20 different sides to this story, and a lot of them don't have anything to do personally with Sadia, but I'm gonna go through them so you guys understand what happened that night and the impact of this night. So it was NBA All-Star Weekend, and Sadia was invited to come with her client of nearly 18 months, NFL player Adam Pac-Man Jones. The rest of their group included Aaron's bodyguard, his personal assistant, a model friend, another woman, I'm not sure who she was, and his publicist, Cheryl Moss. The group decided to go to Mink's Gentleman Club and Lounge, a now closed strip club in Las Vegas. The night started off great. Jermaine Dupri and Nelly joined the group in their section, and soon after, there were over 40 strippers on the stage, and they're making it rain, as one does at the strip club. So for my people who don't go to the strip clubs, usually when there's someone or a group of people that are throwing like a large amount of money on a group of dancers, employees of the club will like collect all of the money that's thrown and then later like divvy it up, divide it between the girls that were dancing. That way nobody is like trying to grab all the bills or is fighting over what was meant for them and what was meant for somebody else, because obviously that would get messy, right? So some clubs do this like no matter the amount. They don't allow girls to pick up money at all, or they just do it like when there's a lot of money being thrown. This is just to prevent girls from like being down on the floor trying to pick up their money on their own. So Chris Mitchell, a party promoter and club owner from Houston, he flew in a bunch of his girls from his club, Harlem Nights, to dance in Vegas for the weekend. So there were a lot of girls there that were not house dancers. And basically house dancers, people who are not house dancers are just, they're not the usual girls who dance there. They're not the girls that you're going to see there every Sunday, right? They're guest dancers, technically. That's a detail for later. Another important detail for my non-strip club goers is that it's common practice for the club to give the patrons or whoever's spending money a plastic bag full of ones once they exchange money. So you can give like your bartender, or like if you're at a club that has like a bottle girl or waitress or whatever, you can give them your money and they will exchange the money for you, put it in ones. And if you get like a whole bunch of money, which is what they did in this situation, they'll give it to you in like a big bag. Now, recently, like I think now they're doing like buckets of money and stuff. I don't know, but it'd be in a plastic bag, y'all. So okay, now that we've got like strip club stuff out of the way, everybody's having a good time at the club, and all of a sudden a huge fight breaks out. This fight spills over outside, and a few minutes after everything was broken up, a valet told police that he heard shots fired near the front entrance and saw a man flee the scene. The shots hit a female club patron and two of the club's bouncers, leaving one paralyzed. I'm going to make a note here. When this shooting happened, Sadia was still inside of the club. She was not outside when this happens, just so you guys know. So I want to read you guys Cheryl's, who is Aaron's publicist. I want to read y'all her account of what happened. This is a condensed quote, but it comes from a 2007 press conference that was written about in the Tennessean. Just so y'all don't get confused, when the quote is saying Morrison, they're referring to Sadia, of course. And then when they say Jones, they're referring to Aaron. And when they say she, they're talking about Cheryl, the publicist. So it's a long one. Here we go. One woman scooped up some cash and a fight broke out that pitted one stripper against three others. Morrison, Jones' stylist, tried to pull the underdog stripper off stage to protect her and was drawn into the fight. During the distraction, Houston-based promoter and party organizer Chris Mitchell tried to snatch Jones' bag of money, but ran into the 5'10" football player's considerably larger bodyguard who wouldn't let him have it. Spying the struggle, a club bouncer rushed in and maced the bodyguard. Bouncer and shooting victim Aaron Cudworth put a headlock on Jones, who was still recovering from shoulder surgery, until his eyes rolled into the back of his head. From there, the fighting spun out of control, with more bouncers joining the fray and roughing up Jones' friends and other patrons, anyone within swinging distance. Morrison was beaten repeatedly at the hands of club security. Several in her party faced racial slurs from staff. Club bouncers were completely out of line, said Moss, who added Jones and Morrison left covered in their own blood. I was there. He was victimized. They kicked Pac's rear end, aka ass, y'all, of course. There were too few security guards to monitor the wall-to-wall crowd in the club, and Mink's staff should have turned off the music and turned on the lights as soon as the fight broke out so they could identify the culprits. Jones and his 7 friends were split up during the commotion. While she talked inside with a manager, Jones and his bodyguard waited for a taxi outside. Jones heard the shots that injured 3 people and left Tom Urbanski paralyzed from the waist down as the cab pulled away, according to Moss's story. It really bothers him that the guy got paralyzed, Moss said. It really disturbs him. He's beside himself about this. She acknowledged that many more club customers dropped by Jones' booth to rub shoulders with the NFL star and have a drink, but says they weren't friends of his. Nobody wearing cornrows, the hairstyle police say the shooter wore, sat at their booth by the DJ stand, she said. End quote. So also, Aaron Jones' lawyer, his name was Warwick Robinson, he told the Associated Press in 2007 that his client did not know anyone involved in the shooting and was interviewed by local authorities as a witness, not as a suspect. And this is a fact. Aaron Jones was never looked at as a suspect in the shooting or anything like that. Now, here are some of the accounts from other witnesses as well as what the club staff had to say, and it differs greatly from Cheryl Moss's account, and a lot of this comes from the owner, but it's important that I note here that the owner was not there, like, when this fight happened, and most of his account just comes from, like, hearsay from his staff. So do with that what y'all will, but this is what they said. Robert Sussner, one of the co-owners of Mink, said that Aaron Jones, Sadia's client, walked into the club with an entourage, including the alleged shooter. He said that when one of the dancers started picking up money, Aaron grabbed her by her hair and slammed her head against the stage. A larger fight broke out between the Mink's bouncer, Aaron Cudworth, and the rest of Aaron Jones' entourage. Staff and witnesses told him that Sadia then hit Aaron Cudworth on the head with a bottle of Dom Perignon. Then Aaron Jones started to threaten Cudworth's life as the fight was broken up. After the fight had cleared out, Robert said that the member of Jones' entourage that was in the section with him came back and shot the 3 victims, a female club patron and 2 bouncers. He then claimed that the club's general manager got 4 anonymous phone calls that threatened him, saying to leave Pac-Man alone or face the consequences. The first one happened 2 days after the shooting, and the general manager actually moved from his apartment because he didn't feel safe. So here's a condensed quote from Robert. They said, "If you don't leave Pac-Man alone, we're going to kill you, your family, and everyone in the club. Everybody's on high alert. Everyone's worried about this. We can't calm down until Pac-Man tells us who shot our guys. I can't let this go on without justice. I can't let them slide on this. I owe it to Tom and Aaron," end quote. Okay, so here's another side, y'all. I know this is a lot of information, but I think it's important for the story. So here's what was in the warrant that was issued. Chris Mitchell, the club owner and promoter from Houston, fled the club with a large plastic bag of money after instructing his dancers to pick the money up. Police later searched his hotel room and recovered more than $81,000 in cash believed to have belonged to Aaron Jones. They also recovered a brown cloth bag and 2 watches, but it was not clear who those items belonged to, so remember this for later. Mitchell, according to the warrant, quote, admits that he took the money in the bag belonging to Jones because he thought it was for the dancers, end quote. The warrant also says that the cash was intended as a visual effect, and I'm guessing what they mean here is that, like, it was a gag, like they apparently, like, they were going to take the money back or something, hence Aaron Jones' anger. I'm not sure. What do y'all think about that? I was confused by that. Anyway, the warrant says that Chris and I, quote, and a male associate took a plastic trash bag containing Jones' money and walked out the front door. The warrant continues on to say that the fight broke out after Chris Mitchell left the club and a woman identified as a member of Jones' group, they're referring to Sadia here, fought with one of the strippers, and security tried to break up the fight. Then Aaron Jones told the guards to back off and reached behind his back, quote, as if he were retrieving a weapon there. Jones's entourage was moved outside, but the woman continued to fight according to the warrant, hitting a guard in the head with a champagne bottle and began biting and screaming when other guards tried to restrain her. After getting the group out of the club, it stated in the warrant that the shooting happened a few minutes later, which I went over a little bit. I think most of the party was outside, but Sadia was still inside. So that is pretty much what they say happened there, y'all. There's a lot of details here. And when there's a big brawl like that, it's really hard for people to, like, remember the sequence of events or, like, who did what, especially in a dark club if they didn't cut the lights on once the fight started, It's just like, I don't know. It's just a lot of information, but I wanted to give y'all all the sides of this, as many as I can, just so you guys can kind of make your own decision on, like, what you think happened. After the smoke cleared, Girl Sadia was charged with assault with a deadly weapon, battery with a deadly weapon, and coercion. Aaron Jones and his bodyguard, Robert Big Rob Reed, were also hit with a number of charges. The group later accepted a plea bargain on reduced charges, and in exchange for the plea, Clark County dropped some of the charges, then sentencing Sadia to 3 years of probation. In exchange for their plea, Aaron and Rob got 1 year of probation and no jail time. Also, their plea agreement, not Sadia's, because, again, Sadia was inside of the club when the shooting happened, but Aaron and Rob's plea agreement required them to testify against Arvin Edwards, the suspected shooter. According to a Las Vegas police report, Aaron apparently identified Arvin Edwards in a photo lineup as the shooter. Authorities also say Arvin tried to extort Aaron for the payment for the shooting, but he refused. After this, Tommy Urbanski and Aaron Cudworth, those were the bouncers who were victims of the shooting, sued Aaron Jones together, and they won their lawsuit nearly 6 years later in 2013. Tommy was awarded $10 million and Aaron Cudworth got $1.5 million. After the trial, Sadia reflected on what was most important: her career, her spirituality, and herself. Because Aaron Jones was kind of known as an NFL bad boy, he had been in quite a few altercations before. I don't know anything about this guy, but I just quickly skimmed his name and other incidents he was in. He's been in some trouble before. The fight made national headlines because he already had that reputation. And of course, this could have really affected Sadia's career. And she just did not want to be known as the girl who got into it in Vegas or even be associated with that, of course. Here's a quote from her brother Paul in a 2008 New York Daily News article. She was extremely successful. Finally, both of her feet were in the door. She was about to take off. She realized that it could have been over with that Pac-Man Jones thing in Vegas. She was like, forget that. My career, what I have going, and the people I'm touching are way more important. She really changed her life around. She was on the straight and narrow. Sadia's friend, DC Livers, managing editor for Black Press Magazine, had this to say about Sadia's demeanor after the trial to Black Press. I didn't know her when that happened, but I asked her about it. Sadia seemed truly remorseful about the situation and seemed determined to make sure that she stayed on the right track. She was always at the Harlem Hope Center because she wanted to change her life and make sure that she used her story to help others. Faith-wise, Sadia started tapping into her spirituality by studying the Bible and other works and putting in some philanthropic work. She worked on organizing a celebrity PlayStation tournament at the 4040 Club to raise funds for at-risk youth. She started Out of Pocket Entertainment, a PR and event management company, with her friend and client Thomas Jones. They secured an office in Midtown Manhattan, and she continued styling for her current clients. So now we're going to talk about Friday, June 13th, 2008. Sadia had a busy day ahead of her. She had looks to put together for the BET Awards that were coming up. She had clients flying in that she would be picking up from the airport that afternoon, and she wanted to get her hair braided. That morning, she called her family at her sister's house briefly, just checking in. Her brother Paul told the New York Daily News that it was a brief, routine call in which Sadia seemed completely relaxed. Around 10 a.m., Sadia left her apartment on 137th and Lenox to head to her preferred salon for a walk-in appointment. When she got there, her stylist hadn't come in yet, so she dropped by her friend Trinia Breedlove's salon nearby. The two women laughed and talked before going their separate ways. Sadia then ran into another good friend, Shay DeBerry, and the two sat in Shay's car talking. The two women eventually said goodbye around 1:15 p.m. Around 3:30 p.m., a man anonymously called 911 saying, "I just saw a girl's body fall past my window." This call was tracked and took place 30 blocks from where the caller said that this happened, y'all. Very, very eerie detail there. Friends became worried about Sadia's whereabouts when they hadn't heard from her for hours and she hadn't updated her MySpace, which she was known to be constantly doing. She always updated her MySpace to promote her clients. She was always super busy. She had 2 cell phones. She would just be checking them all the time, replying to emails. But at this very moment, it was radio silence from her. Trigger warning for this part, y'all. Police reported to the scene that the caller told them to go to at 1065 University Avenue behind the Highbridge houses in the Bronx at 3:54 p.m. There, they found Sadia Morrison unresponsive with her 2 phones and purse missing and pronounced her dead at the scene. She was only 26 years old. So it's unclear why Sadia headed to the Bronx. In that New York Daily News article, Sadia's friend Bambi Taylor said, "I have no clue as to who she would know in that building. That's the big question. Who was she seeing? How did she get there?" Her brother Paul said, "She wasn't supposed to leave Harlem that day. She had no reason to be in the Bronx. Sadia was too famous to just die, and nobody knows what happened or how it happened." Zab Judah, Sadia's client and friend, said to Vibe, "I just want to know who did this. Not even to hurt them, but just to ask them, why?" The New York City Medical Examiner's Office did not immediately release a cause of death, and the police pondered over whether this was a suicide or if someone had actually thrown Sadia off of the building. A week after, her death was then classified as a murder case and not as a suicide, with police sources saying that foul play was indeed suspected. The New York Medical Examiner said, and Paul also confirmed this, that Sadia had 2 injuries. Here's a quote. One from hitting a satellite dish while falling, and another that he thinks was caused by an assailant. This is what Paul said. So who could have done this? At first, police suspected that it could have had something to do with the incident in Vegas, but that was quickly ruled out as Sadia was still inside of the club when the actual shooting happened. Her brother also didn't think that it was connected to Vegas, and her friends and family suspected that she was thrown off the building. A resident of the building that Sadia was found behind told police that she had seen Sadia coming in and out of an unoccupied apartment on the building's top floor in recent weeks. The police started investigating a man who Sadia was allegedly dating who lived in the building where she was found, but to this day, he remains unnamed. In the Vibe article I referenced earlier, there's a section that talks about a guy that they refer to as Jimmy. This is not this guy's real name, by the way, but apparently Jimmy had been in Sadia's life for a while. Her friend Ron told Vibe that he was the only guy that she talked to when they were in high school. That was her first love, but the relationship consisted of a whole lot of arguing and going back and forth. Jimmy spent a few years in prison and had recently been released around the time of Sadia's passing. So I'm going to read some of this section of the Vibe article for y'all. Inside the dimly lit restaurant, Shay freezes when Jimmy's name is brought up. She pauses, then takes another sip of wine. From my understanding, Sadia was seen over there with this guy, she says, but nobody can find him. He's not missing, but nobody can really find him. Perhaps nobody looked hard enough. According to Sadia's friends and family, the 44th precinct dropped the ball in investigating her death. Did the NYPD fail to do their job, or did nobody come forward to help them? In one of Shay's last conversations with the police, one detective let her in on a harsh reality. If nobody admits to doing it, she claims he told her, the district will say it's a suicide. Sadia's funeral was held at the Ortiz Funeral Home in the Bronx on June 19th, 2008, with plenty of family and friends showing up and showing out for her. They also had like customized t-shirts for her. I believe they had a bowling party afterwards. It was just a really great celebration of life. I want to add that she wore a blue blazer from Patricia Field. This was picked out by one of her best friends, Sade, and I feel like that was just, looking at photos of her, like that was probably just so perfect for her. In September 2008, 3 months after Sadia's passing, the police ruled it as a suicide and closed the case. There was no suicide note, no assailant has ever been arrested, and the person who called 911 was never identified. And that is the story of Sadia A. Morrison, y'all. This whole case bothers me so much because I think it's crazy that they would rule it as a suicide when there was no suicide note. And then the head trauma that she had on top of that, and just even the person saying, you know, that the person who lived there saying that they saw her like at that apartment, and for, you know, this person she was dating to like fall off the face of the earth suspiciously after her passing is just, it does not point to suicide at all in my eyes. And it's crazy because when there are like cases that involve white women, they leave the cases open. Y'all know I'm a big fan of true crime, and I hear these cases all the time of like missing women or deceased women who happen to be white, and the case will stay open for years and years after their passing. But for some reason, when it comes to Black women, they just want to like wrap it up, tie it up really quick. We're seeing this happen in real time with the Lauren Smith Fields case. Like they're just trying to like just get it done with. They don't try their hardest, and it's so freaking frustrating, and just like it just makes me so angry to hear about this happening to Black women when her case, in my opinion, clearly points to foul play. Police suspected foul play themselves, but why are y'all just trying to wrap it up 3 months after? Like a lot of investigations go on way longer than 3 months. And I get like, if you have no leads, what do you go off of? But I just feel like they probably could have done more. And if the family and friends feel like they didn't do enough, then they didn't do enough. I'm sorry. They didn't do enough to just wrap it up and rule it a suicide when everything points to something else is just awful to me. Very, very awful to me. And I do hope that Sadia does receive justice one day. I hope that her case can be reopened and just reinvestigated, and somebody will come forward if they know something, because this is just awful. Absolutely awful to pass away like that in such a horrible way at only 26 years old with so much life ahead of you. And just, she was doing so many great things at her age. And like, some people will never accomplish what she accomplished in their lifetime. Some people don't have the guts. They don't have the determination. They don't have the drive to do anything like that. And to accomplish so much like that at just 26, it's so sad that we couldn't see like what she would have been doing today. To end this on a more positive note, I thought about this case a lot, obviously, as I was writing it. And then when I finished writing it, I thought about it a lot. And I was like, what would she be doing today? Like, what would Sadia be up to today? I think she would still be styling. I could see her like having like a commentary show, a podcast, like working with bigger clients. Like, I would have loved to see like what she would have thought of like this new generation of rap girls. Like, would she be styling the city girls, mulatto? Like, what would she put them in? Like, it would have been nice to see like that streetwear influence that she had, how that would have developed over the years to where we are now. Would she still be working with Tiana Taylor? Like, just what would she have done if her life hadn't been cut so short? Yeah, this is a story that is definitely going to stay in the back of my mind and is going to puzzle me until it's solved. I really do want to send my condolences and love to her family and friends. All right, y'all. So that was the story of Sadia A. Morrison, stylist gone too soon. Talented, dynamic woman who deserved more and deserved to live out her life and her career the way that she wanted to. Yeah, that is the story, y'all. That's all I have today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see y'all next week for a brand new episode. Bye. Thank you for listening to Vixen. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a review. If you have a submission, feel free to email VIXENPODCAST@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode.